For over a century, Carhartt meant one thing. You bought it once. You wore it until it fell apart. And even then, it barely did. That reputation was not an accident. It was built stitch by stitch, starting in 1889, by a company that understood its customers were not buying clothing. They were buying armor, farmers, iron workers, pipe fitters, people who needed a jacket to survive a Michigan winter on a job site, not to photograph well in a coffee shop. For most of the 20th century, Carhartt delivered exactly that. Their duck canvas fabric, a 12-ounce cotton twill with a tight weave, was nearly indestructible by the standards of workwear. The triple-stitch seams were sewn with bonded nylon thread that outlasted the fabric itself. The union-made construction, centered primarily in Kentucky and Tennessee, was a point of pride that the company advertised openly. Consumer Reports noted in multiple decade reviews that Carhartt routinely outperformed competitors in abrasion resistance and wash durability. Workers on the line at auto plants and construction sites handed down their Carhartt bibs from fathers to sons. That was not nostalgia. That was a documented product lifespan. This was a brand built on one unspoken promise. We will not let you down when it counts. Then the money arrived. In 2019, the Carhartt family, still private, still family-controlled after 130 years, was valued at approximately $4 billion, according to Forbes estimates. That number was not lost on the fashion industry or on the private equity firms circling it. What followed was not a single dramatic buyout. It was something quieter and in many ways more damaging. It was a deliberate repositioning, a company choosing to chase a new, wealthier customer while quietly abandoning the ones who built its reputation. The changes began showing up in the product before the marketing did. Starting around 2010 and accelerating through the mid-2000s, longtime Carhartt customers began reporting a noticeable shift in fabric weight and feel. The original 12-ounce duck canvas that defined the brand's jackets and bibs began appearing lighter in newer production runs. Independent garment industry analysts and longtime retailers noted the shift. A heritage model that had been 12-ounce in 2005 was often tagged at 10-ounce by 2015. A 16% reduction in material weight that translates directly into reduced abrasion resistance and a shorter working life. The company did not announce this change. They did not reduce the price to reflect it. They kept the name Heritage and kept the price climbing. The second change was in the stitching. The triple-stitch construction that Carhartt had advertised for decades began appearing inconsistently across product lines. Customers on trade forums like Contractor Talk and heavy equipment operator communities, people who buy Carhartt multiple times per year for actual work, began documenting seam failures at the shoulder and underarm within 6 to 12 months of purchase. These were seams that previously lasted 5 to 10 years of hard use. iFixit, which tracks repairability across consumer products, identified this as part of a broader pattern in the workwear industry. Moving from flat-felled seams, which are structurally superior and nearly impossible to blow out, to surge seams, which are faster and cheaper to produce but fail under sustained lateral stress. The repair cost for a seam failure on a $130 Carhartt jacket at a tailor runs $25 to $50, assuming the fabric itself has enough integrity left to hold new stitching. Often it does not. Then came the most visible change of all. Between 2010 and 2020, Carhartt expanded its WIP line, Work in Progress, which had originally been a European streetwear sub-brand, and began integrating its aesthetics into the core American product offering. Suddenly, Carhartt tags were appearing on $90 beanies, $200 streetwear collaborations with Supreme, and limited edition drops aimed at consumers who had never held a pipe wrench. The core product did not disappear, but the brand's identity began to split in a way that had real consequences for quality control and manufacturing focus. When you are producing for a customer who is going to wear a jacket to a gallery opening, you optimize for appearance, colorway, and trendy silhouette. When you are producing for a pipe fitter in North Dakota in January, you optimize for thermal retention, seam strength, and wind resistance. You cannot fully do both at the same scale with the same supply chain. Carhartt's manufacturing footprint reflects this tension. Production that had been primarily domestic shifted increasingly to Mexico and overseas contractors during this period. The company still manufactures some products in the United States. They have been careful to maintain that language, but the composition of their overall production changed substantially. The BBB complaint database shows a consistent thread running through Carhartt reviews from 2015 onward. Customers who had purchased Carhartt for decades reporting premature wear, seam failure, and a general decline in the weight and toughness of newer products compared to items they had purchased 10 or 20 years earlier. These are not soft customers complaining about fashion. These are tradespeople comparing a 2023 bibs to a 1998 bibs and reporting an objectively different product inside an identical-looking package. The name stayed the same. The duck canvas did not. So, who benefits from this transformation? The Carhartt family, still private and still controlling the brand, has presided over a valuation that grew from roughly $1 billion in the early 2000s to approximately $4 billion by 2019, a fourfold increase driven heavily by the brand's expansion into fashion and streetwear demographics. The financial logic is straightforward. A 22-year-old in Brooklyn who buys a Carhartt beanie for $85 because it signals authenticity is far more valuable to a consumer brand than a 45-year-old electrician who buys one heavyweight jacket per year because he actually needs it. The fashion consumer buys frequently, responds to seasonal drops, and pays full retail. The tradesperson buys once every several years and shops on durability, not trend. When a brand chases the fashion consumer, it rationalizes every quality reduction as invisible to its new customer, because that customer is never going to stress test the seams. The people who notice are the ones the brand left behind. And for Carhartt, those people built a 100-year reputation that a fashion company spent a decade cashing out. Here is what you can still do. If you need genuine working Carhartt, the kind built to the original standard, you are looking for older domestic production, generally pre-2012, with lot numbers that indicate U.S. manufacturing. These appear regularly on eBay, through work surplus dealers, and at estate sales in agricultural and industrial regions. A pre-2010 Carhartt Detroit jacket with original triple-stitched seams and 12-ounce canvas will outperform most new production by a significant margin. Expect to pay $40 to $90 for used pieces in good working condition. For new workwear that still builds to a genuine trade standard, look at Duluth Trading Company's Fire Hose line, which still uses heavier canvas construction and offers a lifetime guarantee on workmanship. Walls, particularly their blizzard-proof line, retains a stronger industrial construction focus than current Carhartt mainstream products. Filson, while more expensive at $250 to $400 per jacket, still manufactures with tin cloth and double-layer construction that is genuinely built for field use. When shopping any workwear brand today, look for the actual fabric weight on the tag. Anything below 10 ounces for duck canvas is a signal you are buying for appearance, not performance. Look for flat felled or triple-stitch seam callouts in the product description. And look at where it was made, not because overseas construction is automatically inferior, but because the conversation about construction quality becomes easier to verify when the brand is transparent about it. The workers who built Carhartt's reputation across a century deserve a product that respects what they actually do for a living. Right now, the next video will look at another American brand that made a similar trade, reputation for reach, quality for volume, and what it cost the people who trusted them. If you want to know which brands are still worth your money and which ones are coasting on a name they stopped earning years ago, subscribe. Because nobody in their marketing department is going to tell you this. You already suspected something changed. You were right.